Hey guys, Wyatt Claypool here. All does not seem well for Mark Carney's Liberal government right now, with the NDP currently threatening that they will vote no on the throne speech and collapse the government mere months into Mark Carney's tenure as the Prime Minister. This is very hilarious and also very predictable. I want to talk a little bit about what the NDP's strategy here, as well as what their statement was. This is an actual crisis for the Liberal government, and it all spawns from this motion vote where the NDP, the Bloc, and the Conservatives joined together to try and compel the Liberals to actually table an economic update or a budget before the end of this spring session. The Liberals are putting off till fall, and that happened because the Liberals told the NDP it wasn't going to reduce the threshold for them to be an official party and get more of a legislative budget than they do with only 7 seats. The current threshold to be an official party is 12. They only have 7. And Carney, I guess, was thinking he was playing hardball, saying to the NDP, no, I'm not going to reduce the threshold. I'm not going to let you guys be an official party, but keep voting for my stuff. So a lot of things to unpack here, guys. If you like the show and you like my political breakdowns, make sure to like this video, drop a like on the video. It really helps us in the algorithm. Also, leave a comment. That also helps us get more reach. YouTube has just been shredding the distribution, I find, of Canadian political content over the last few weeks. Even much bigger YouTubers than myself have been noticing it. And then if you guys are also not subscribers, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you see whenever I release a new video, not just hoping it pops up in the algorithm, which seems to not be showing people stuff. Also hit the notification bell if you also want notification, because again, it doesn't seem like YouTube is giving people notice when I have new stuff out. But I want to bring you guys now over to the press conference that just happened and then talk about what I think NDP leader Don Davies is doing. At the very least, Don Davies is a far smarter person than Jagmeet Singh, which is not much of an accomplishment, but it's remarkable because the NDP has had terrible leadership since 2019 with Jagmeet Singh. Technically, he became the leader in 2018, but he only got his seat in 2019. Don Davies at least seems to understand that if the NDP is going to be a different party than the Liberals, they can't agree with the Liberals on everything. And this budget issue, this issue of Mark Carney basically snubbing them on all policy negotiations, is a very good way for the NDP to flex their muscles, gain a few points in the polls, and maybe even grow themselves in a new election. Because I think the NDP realizes, hopefully, that regardless if the Conservatives win, if another election is called or not, the NDP needs to survive if it actually wants its agenda passed one day. It can't just die and then hope that the Liberals will carry on their legacy. And if they believe the Liberals have the same agenda as them, why don't they just merge? Fundamentally, I actually do believe the NDP and the Liberals are different parties for a reason, but the line of distinction got heavily blurred with Jagmeet Singh because he was such a Liberal leader, and frankly, Justin Trudeau was such an NDP-ish Liberal. So you had Jagmeet Singh as a very Liberal NDP, and Justin Trudeau was a very NDP Liberal, a very orange Liberal, hyper socially progressive, very pro-unionized federal labor, but not really much of a, didn't really care about the private sector the way the NDP usually doesn't. And then I found that Jagmeet Singh did not give a crap about working class people that the NDP usually was supposed to stand up for. Again, I'm a conservative. I don't like either party, but from the strategic side of things, the NDP needs to differentiate itself and be that working class party again. But here's Don Davies talking about the NDP potentially voting no on the throne speech, which is absolutely a confidence motion.
The second thing I want to announce today is that New Democrats met caucus this morning, and we decided that we are going to be voting no to the throne speech. 1.2 million Canadians sent New Democrats to this parliament to advocate for working families across this country. And yet, in this throne speech, we don't see those priorities reflected. Millions of Canadians don't have access to an affordable home. They don't have access to timely health care, and they don't have access to the good family-sustaining jobs that they need. And yet the throne speech doesn't even mention the words healthcare. You won't even find those words in the throne speech. There is no mention of non-market housing, cooperative housing, or housing for Indigenous people, some of the most acute needs in this country when it comes to affordable housing. And it foreshadows $28 billion in cuts that will absolutely hurt working people across this country.
I can already tell you that there are things about this where I almost need to defend Mark Carney, and then I have to explain what Don Davies is saying. Who's wrong between Don Davies and Mark Carney in the interplay between the NDP? I think the answer is yes. Both of them are. He's not exactly correct that there's going to be $28 billion in cuts, because do you actually expect the Liberals are going to cut anything? No, they're just going to run the debt up more. He has found that they technically now have a gap in their budget because they previously said they were going to raise money with tariffs and find efficiencies. So Don Davies and the NDP are slamming those two things together and accusing the Liberals of cutting things. From a political perspective, this is smart for Don Davies to be doing, accusing the Liberals of moving right and abandoning working class families, not committing to building public housing and cooperatives and Indigenous housing and whatnot. Be the party that stands up for working people and services. Now, I think they're still wildly off the mark of where Jack Leighton had done things right when he was leader. Again, I wouldn't have never voted for Jack Leighton. But again, from a purely, like a strategic political perspective, Jack Leighton really cornered the market on the sort of hard hat wearing working class voters who relied on public services. Whereas Don Davies is trying to do a little bit of that, but this is still probably 75, 100% better than what Jagmeet Singh was like as leader.
So we will be voting no against the throne speech, and making sure that the interests of working people across this country are reflected, and we'll continue to fight for those measures that we know that so many millions of Canadians and working families need in this country.
On tariffs, just
and so this is, again, an actual good move on the part of the NDP, and just by happenstance, it's very good for Conservatives if another election is called. Now, the Conservatives do need to fire a lot of people in their headquarters, because there are a lot of people in their headquarters who have their heads where their hindquarters should be. They don't really know what they're doing when it comes to reaching out to voters and building confidence. They let the Liberals set the narrative in the last election, and I think that they need people who are going to be more visionary in their strategic planning meetings. There's too many people who want to just sit there, and they literally are saying this, and I don't like it. I don't like when the Conservatives start talking about how we're just going to be the government in waiting. We're just going to wait here and wait to inherit the government when Canadians get, tired of the Liberals. I've said it before, the Conservatives need to get good at winning elections, not waiting for the Liberals to lose them. Will the Liberals eventually lose? Sure, but that's not much of a victory. I think the Conservatives actually need to stake out ground on big vision things that they want to do with the country. When I say that, I mean, it can't just be taxes are too high, let's reduce taxes under $50,000. Crime's up, let's reduce some of the bail reform laws or let's get rid of the bail reform laws that the Liberals brought in that are letting criminals out. On immigration, we'll ratchet it back a little bit. I think on all those issues, including other ones that weren't talked about at all in the last election, the Conservatives need a big, audacious reform that they're proposing. On immigration, slash everything 75% for the next 5 years. On taxes, cut taxes 20% across the board. On spending, commit to cutting wasteful spending. Get rid of DEI, get rid of needless HR, reduce administration, and move it back to either the front lines or give the money back to taxpayers. That's going to be a big winner of an issue. But now, to get back to the NDP, sorry for going off on all these kind of rabbit holes. What the NDP is trying to do, hopefully, not just for themselves, but for the country as well, is that they are following Jack Leighton's lead in 2004. People forget it was Jack Leighton who, in fact, was the one who forced the 2006 election. Paul Martin was still the prime minister in 2004, although in a minority government situation. And although, let's even just check the numbers, because I don't actually know the numbers off the top of my head. Forgive me. In 2004, Jack Leighton and the NDP were the fourth biggest party, and they had 19 seats. They were up 5 since the previous election, and Paul Martin's Liberals had 135 seats, and they needed 155 to get things done. So I think they still needed the bloc as well. But I believe Leighton was the one who pulled the plug on the government and was threatening to do constantly if the Liberals didn't do exactly what he wanted. Jack Leighton didn't care that Stephen Harper became the prime minister in 2006. He didn't care that he became the prime minister again in 2008 or that he won a majority in 2011 because Jack Leighton understood that if the NDP is going to work, and this is any political party, if any political party is going to work, it needs to win seats and it can't be threatened by the idea that, the Conservatives might win, so you can't call an election. That's where Jagmeet Singh constantly fell on his face. He was more scared of the Conservatives winning, which is actually a great outcome for the country. Not sure why he's scared of it, but I digress. But he was so scared of the Conservatives winning that he wouldn't hold the Liberals to account. So he became the party for nobody. It became the party for like downtown progressives who love Hamas and are, going to college. That was pretty much it. Anthropology students who hate Israel and love Hamas. And so now the party actually needs to show that it has muscle and stands for more things than just being the radically socially progressive party that agrees with the Liberals on pretty much everything else. And hopefully that's what Don Davies is doing. And by saying he's not going to vote with the throne speech is a clear sign that he may be using the Jack Layton playbook. He already has it with that motion vote. I don't think Jagmeet Singh would have had the mettle to say, no, I'm going to immediately vote against the government. You guys are going to have to table a budget. And frankly, it's a good thing for the NDP to actually say we're more fiscally responsible than the Liberals. We want a costed budget. Whereas previously, Jagmeet Singh just kept asking for more dollars to be spent on stuff. Don Davies is doing the same thing, but he's also couching it in the terms of, but we also need fiscal transparency. We need to spend more money, but we also need fiscal transparency. Those two things are incoherent, but that's not how politics works. It doesn't matter if it's incoherent. It might be effective. So yeah, there's other things going wrong for the Liberals right now. It's going to have to be another video, but a Liberal independent senator that Justin Trudeau appointed very early on in his time as prime minister has crossed the floor from sitting as an independent. Really, most of the independents are actually to the left of the normal Liberal MP. He went from independent and now he's joined the Conservatives. I want to break down his reasoning in the future, but I don't doubt it's because of the radicals that Justin Trudeau was appointing to his Senate slate. And I think this guy has said, this is not the Liberal Party I signed up for a decade ago. This is a very different thing. And now he's more comfortable with the Conservatives. Maybe he was even waiting for Mark Carney to get in. Is Mark Carney going to be any different? Is he going to actually start, righting the fiscal ship? He's going to start reducing the debt. Is he going to stop fighting the left-wing culture wars? And because Carney's obviously not going to change, I think now this guy is going to change his party status. I don't know who it is. I had to read into it. I saw it, but it's one of those things I think it requires its own breakdown because we have the NDP turning on the Liberals. We have some Liberals turning on the Liberals. Mark Carney may seem like a professional, steady hand, but I don't think he understands politics well enough to actually keep the Liberals in power for long enough to get anything done, potentially. He may be in for 4 years, maybe. At the same time, right now, it seems like Carney has this arrogant side of his personality where he thinks because he said it, it's going to happen. And the NDP has its own priorities. They were snubbed on getting the official party status. They have been snubbed on the throne speech. They've been frankly talked down to. I'd talk down to them too, but I'm not a liberal. I'm a conservative who would talk down to them for being annoying socialists. But they've been talked down to by their allies. And also, remember, the Liberals can't really work with the Bloc either. Are the Bloc Québécois are going to vote yes on a throne speech that was read by King Charles, the one super anti-monarchist party? They're not going to vote for that thing. And the Liberals can't really work with them as the Bloc Québécois have been attacking the idea of Canadian sovereignty, saying that, Canada's not really a country. It's just a weak collection of provinces. Quebec, see, that's a real country with a real culture and people. Carney can't work with that. He can't be the elbows up guy and then start working with Yves-François Blanchet on issues when Yves-François Blanchet is like the most anti-Canadian leader in Parliament right now. If he does it, which he could, it will absolutely do a major blow to the Liberal Party's credibility. But that's neither here nor there for now. Anyways, so that should be it for me today, guys. Sorry if I start ragging on the Conservatives more in some of these videos when it comes to strategy, but it is frustrating when I see lobbyists and consultants writing articles saying, this is why Jenny Byrne should stay on as the national director of the party. I have never seen someone fail at politics this often and this hard, and somehow have people running out of the woodwork to say, why are we blaming her? my goodness, the buck stops with the campaign manager. And twice now, 2015 and 2025, she has ran a lackluster campaign that could have won and didn't. And somehow we still have people sitting around saying, well, maybe give her a third kick at the can. No. And one of the major problems with her as leader is that she, or national director, is that we have had a major spate of nominations not being taken seriously in Conservative Party, people being appointed, people being kicked out of nominations like myself. Remember, I ran in Calgary Signal Hill, could have easily won that nomination, was kicked out because someone else was wanted, who was so incompetent that I even made sure they still didn't win by telling my people to vote against them in the nomination. And then they ran, got appointed to another riding, and then lost that again because they were a bad candidate. And I'm the bad guy here, even mentioning it sometimes. Not that anyone's saying that in the comments, but goodness, you will get attacked for saying like the most obvious truth in the party because it like ruffled two people's feathers, even if every other person agrees with you. It's nuts. Like 99.9% of the people in the Conservative Party are perfectly fine with me. They like me, or at least they don't dislike me. And then you'll have other people who like hate your guts for no reason, and it's so weird. And that one of those people is Jenny Byrne. Well, whatever. Can't do anything about it for now. So now I will truly see you guys later. Mini rant at the end, sorry. Again, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, do all that great stuff. Helps us on the algorithm while we're currently in the starvation version of YouTube where they're really not showing my videos to people. Like, I'll have a video go out, and in the first hour, like some people will be clicking on the video because it's in their subscription feed. But in terms of my impressions and reach, which is showing how many people it's organically showing the video to, in an hour, they'll only show it to like 3,000 people, which on YouTube is like nothing. That's like basically showing it to like, it's like, they might as well just put it on a piece of poster board in the middle of the highway and hope that someone goes and looks up the video later. It's pathetic. But anyway, so see you guys later. I was about to go into another rant and I probably shouldn't, and I should be more professional. I'm sorry, people. I'll be more professional. See you guys later.